Hello, Saint Michelle here. So if you're new to my channel, which you probably are because hardly anybody's seen any of my videos yet, um, I I do what I call Bible Roulette. Um, I used to do tarot readings before I had my come to Jesus experience, and I've always been really uh, kind of eerily accurate with my tarot readings. Um, After my come to Jesus experience, I stopped, and I realized that the reason why I had this gift of divination and prophesying my entire life wasn't because I was a psychic, or because I had, I guess, esoteric or supernatural powers or whatever. It's because it's my gift. It's a gift that God gave me. I am able to, I don't know, I'm able to prophesy using things like that. And I don't touch tarot anymore, but I do Bible Roulette. So um, I'm sharing this because I need some input. Because I've done 3 sessions of Bible Roulette now, 3 days in a row. And I've opened to a different book in each time, and the passage that I read almost seems, and actually is in a weird way, kind of an extension of the past or the previous one. And I am trying to decipher what God's trying to tell me, because I have been trying to decide. God, sorry, I just noticed I kind of look like crap. I woke up this morning and haven't given a shit about doing any of this, so this is me in the morning. But yeah, so I've been trying to pray on where I'm supposed to go from where I'm at right now. God, I was undergoing some pretty severe attack that started I guess I would say like last May is when it really started, and came to a peak by I'd say by last October. And by November, I was moving out of my house that I had been in for 2 years. My daughter went off to college. My business fell apart because my business partner was totally swept up by a honeypot and has been like taken over by dark forces. And wound up in this apartment that was totally set up for me, and was experiencing some really, really severe directed energy stuff from the people that live downstairs from me. And it was physically unbearable for me. It became very, very physically unbearable for me to even be in my apartment. And it was winter, so it was really difficult. And I ultimately, started dealing with, then after, trying to deal with the physical aspects of the directed energy stuff, then the people downstairs started making reports to my landlord about like me walking heavily and me leaving them notes. And I left a letter at one point saying, hey, I talked to you about this like a while ago. Can you please stop doing this? And vacuuming late at night, which I did not do. But crazy stuff, and they were trying to essentially get me evicted. So I was afraid of getting evicted because it's harder to get into a place if you have an eviction, and so I managed to get out of my lease using a reasonable accommodation request for the fact that I was mentally experiencing trauma from being afraid to walk across the floor in my own apartment without being reported to the landlord for walking heavily. So I was nervous about. I'm sorry for this lengthy intro explanation, but it's kind of relevant. I had no place to go. I don't have anybody left in my life here that I can really count on, depend on, don't have a local emergency contact. Like, you know how it goes if you're one of us. But I would have ended up, I was like, what am I supposed to do, God? Like, I can't stay here anymore. But I don't know if I can handle living in my car. Especially at the time, I had a cat who was experiencing the effects of the directed energy stuff too, and was causing him to appear to be diabetic or having diabetic-like issues. And so I was really afraid of having to live in my car with my little cat man. And God told me through Bible Roulette, came to many passages, like one after another, kind of like I'm doing now, where it basically just kept telling me to go into the wilderness. Kept telling me to, let go of my things, to let go of my belongings. My belongings are not important. What's important is going into the wilderness and getting away from harm and not feeling like I'm going to be entering more harm by going into the wilderness. And if I go into the wilderness, God will protect me. So that was the very first time that I have ever, I had my come to Jesus experience in like 2018. And this is the first time that I had ever like really gone out on a limb with no safety net. No safety net except for my faith. And I shit you not, like the day before I was going to be moving out of my house and into my apartment and into my car, somebody got a hold of me and on Facebook and said, hey, get a hold of my son. He has a vacant property. It's really, really small. There's no electricity. There's no running water. But it's vacant. And you can stay there as long as you need for free. And, yeah. So that was kind of like the first moment where I was like, wow, okay. This is what happens if you just listen to what God is trying to guide you to do, and if you just put faith in it. So I've been in this little house, and we're talking like 220 square feet, but it has this like really huge backyard. This place is probably going to get torn down at some point so they can build condos here, but I've been here since April, and I use solar generators, and I bring my own water in. I have a foot pump camp sink and a bedside commode for a toilet. So I've been really resourceful. It has given me an opportunity to really really get resourceful and be self-reliant and figure out how to do this in a way that's not conventional. But I've also, my entire life, have been very, very drawn to homesteading. And I used to, like, my ex-husband, I grew up in a very structured family. So I didn't do a whole lot of, like, adventuring, and I was always afraid to kind of do adventurous stuff. So when I left with, my ex-husband was a hitchhiker passing through when I lived in Kansas, and, you know, I knew I knew that he was the man that I was going to end up having a kid with. That was one of my prophecies, and I was right. And so I ended up leaving with him, and, you know, that all came to fruition. And we ended up living on a school bus up in the mountains for 6 months, and nobody thought I'd be able to hack it. And I totally thrived. So, like, coming into this wasn't entirely new to me, but I came into this, like, all on my own. You know, I didn't have somebody with me. You know, even now, like, I don't have, like, if I needed to be burning wood, I don't have anybody to split wood. I've never split wood. You know, there's still a lot of learning to do when it comes to living off of, you know, off-grid living, even though I'm urban off-grid living right now. But I have been feeling, so, like, the first month that I moved in here after leaving the apartment was just total bliss. And then, like, even though there's no electricity in the house, which I initially was very excited about, you know, about three and a half weeks in, lo and behold, I start feeling the vibrations of directed energy stuff, and there's voltage. I have a meter and I can detect voltage in the floors and in the wall, a few of the walls, and it doesn't make sense. There's been a lot of issues with that for the past several months, until about 2 weeks ago, I did some things. I moved some solar lights that were already here that I had kind of a weird feeling about out of nowhere, and I moved them away from the house. I also started parking my car in various places because I was, you know, trying to think of, like, things that could possibly be operating as, like, a receiver. And I'm not feeling the effects anymore. So I don't know if it's something that I did, that I moved, that stopped it, or if it's that they've stopped doing it. I don't know what it is. But I've also had this gut feeling that maybe it's because I'm not here legally, technically, because I'm squatting. I you know, I know that this house is not. When I called the city to ask about getting garbage service and told them the address, they said, "Oh, so you're boondocking." So I was under the impression that it was owned by somebody that I knew, and it's not the case. So I've felt for a while like I should get out of here, like. So I've been praying on that, and, you know, like, thinking that, you know, I want to try taking on a nomadic lifestyle, and it is something that God has been telling me to do, and to spread. Well, he hasn't necessarily been telling me to travel, but I've been feeling like I needed to travel because I felt like I needed to leave here and have no place to go. but that's where it all kind of comes full circle to this session of Bible Roulette and me trying to digest what is being said to me and trying to decipher how I'm supposed to decipher this. So, yeah, and if you watch my videos ever and often, you'll learn that I am very wordy. Sorry. I'm really thorough. And that's another thing. I plan on writing a book about all of this and my story and my journey, and which is another reason why I'm starting to do these videos, to kind of help me, something to kind of go along with my writing to kind of help me document my journey. So, so my first session of Bible Roulette came from Nehemiah, and it was funny because I was raised Catholic, but I've never read the entire Bible, and I stopped believing in God when I was 14. I'll be 45 this year, so it's been a while. And I wasn't familiar with Nehemiah, but it's funny because so it was the Nehemiah 6 is what I opened up to. It's further opposition to the rebuilding. So I guess Nehemiah was sent went back to Jerusalem to rebuild the wall in Jerusalem and to bring people who had been exiled to return to Jerusalem with them. And there was like great opposition. And it was funny because when I started reading this, it was Sanballat, I don't know how to pronounce a lot of these names, is basically, it starts off like where my eyes were led to, which is how I roll on this, is basically he sent a letter to Nehemiah saying like, hey, so I heard that you're building this wall because you are going to start a war against us. You're gonna, you're gonna revolt, and I would like to talk to you. Can you please stop what you're doing and come visit me? We need to talk. And Nehemiah's all like, yeah, no, God told me that you are planning, like you're plotting against me. And none of what you said is true. That's all, that you made all of that up. None of that is true. And then it goes on to like they're sending letters saying, like, hey, like, if you don't go talk to this dude, like, you're gonna get killed. And just so you know, like, we suggest that you go do this or you're gonna be killed. And like, he's like, yep, nope, not doing it. Like, I don't know, like, you guys are just trying to intimidate me. And like, so it goes on, but like, it literally hits the spot. I laughed out loud when I was reading it because like, they try to discredit him. They do a smear campaign. They're using intimidation, like everything that a chosen or targeted individual goes through. Like, that's what they were doing. And this was because he was rebuilding this wall in Jerusalem. And so so like that was what I first opened up to. And at first, I was just like finding the irony in the parallels with gang stalking. But then the next day, I opened up to, where's my part 2? That was my part 1. Okay, yeah. So then part 2, I opened up to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 42, basically 10 through... if you start at Jeremiah 42:10 and just kind of go on from there through the rest of 42. So I guess in Jeremiah, they're also, this is before what happened down with Nehemiah, but this is this is like, the same premise. It has to do with leaving Egypt and going back to Jerusalem. And I opened up too. If you stay in this land, I will build you up and not tear you down. I will plant you and not uproot you, for I have relented concerning the disaster I have inflicted on you. Do not be afraid of the king of Babylon, whom you now fear. Do not be afraid of him, declares the Lord, for I am with you and will save you and deliver you from his hands. I will show you compassion so that he will have compassion on you and restore you to your land. However, if you say, we will not stay in this land, and so disobey the Lord your God, and if you say, no, we will go and live in Egypt, where we will not see war or hear the trumpet or be hungry for bread, then hear the word of the Lord. You remnant of Judah, that is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. If you are determined to go to Egypt, and you do go settle there, then the sword sword you fear will overtake you there, and the famine you dread will follow you into Egypt, and there you will die. Indeed, all who are determined to go to Egypt to settle there will die by the sword, famine, and plague, and none of them will survive or escape the disaster I will bring on them. And then goes on, and then you will be a curse and object of horror, a curse and an object of reproach. You will never see this place again. Goes on, and then also you will die by the sword, famine, and plague in the place where you want to go settle. Okay, so I read that after reading about how Nehemiah was supposed to go and rebuild this wall in Jerusalem. So apparently, could stay in Egypt, could just give up on Jerusalem, stay in Egypt where it is, you're not going to have to deal with war, you're not going to have to deal with famine, all that stuff. Or you could take this leap of faith and do what seems contrary to what would be safe to do and go back to Jerusalem and rebuild. So all day yesterday I was meditating on this, trying to figure out, in my situation, what is Egypt and what is Jerusalem? Because it could be looked at, either situation could be looked at as one or the other. And so I'm kind of so I was already perplexed by that. But then it got more interesting, because what I opened up to today was Numbers. And God led me straight to a story. The bronze snake. So Numbers 21:4. Yeah, 21:4. The bronze snake. Okay, so again, it's talking about leaving Egypt. They traveled from Mount Hor along the route to the Red Sea to go around Edom. But the people grew impatient on the way. They spoke against God and against Moses and said, "Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? There is no bread, there is no water, and we detest this miserable food." Then the Lord sent venomous snakes among them. They bit people, and many Israelites died. The people who came to Moses and said, "We sinned when we spoke against the Lord and against you. Pray that the Lord will take the snakes away from us." So Moses prayed for the people. The Lord said to Moses, "Make a snake and put it up on a pole. Anyone who is bitten can look at it and live." So Moses made a bronze snake and put it on a pole. Then when anyone was bitten by a snake and looked at the bronze snake, they lived. Okay. So again, I know initially, this was my wilderness. This was my escape from harm. This is where God led me to connect with him, which I've been doing, very much so. I don't know where I'm supposed to rebuild, because I've never really had much, I don't have a foundation anymore, really. So I don't know if God is telling me to that, maybe things fell apart here. I guess I did have a foundation, but it all came uprooted. So do I stay here? Is God telling me to stay here and to rebuild my life here? Is this Jerusalem? But it's in the city. It's in a state that I don't agree with. It's in a place that is uncertain as far as my safety goes, as far as, the longevity of my safety here, shelter-wise. Or is my Jerusalem the lifestyle of not being tethered to this, not being tethered to the comforts of being settled in one spot? Because choosing a nomadic lifestyle, especially with everything that's going on with the new executive order, and the difficulties that are involved in a nomadic life, and the obstacles that I need to figure out even to, move towards that. I know I have to figure out a different vehicle situation. And, do I get a camper? Do I get an RV? Do I get a truck? Do I get a van? I don't know. There's all these obstacles to figure out. And it seems like it would be far more difficult to do that and to live that lifestyle than it would be to just keep living in the same town that I'm in and, have the luxuries of some stability of shelter and whatnot. So I'm just having a hard time. If anybody out there can see the obstacle that I have in trying to decipher what's the Egypt and what's Jerusalem. Having, kind of explained, that's why I needed the lengthy intro, because I think that it all has to be looked at. The whole situation has to be looked at to kind of form an opinion. I have been in this city for the most part, except for the few years that I was forced out of here. And I returned and I rebuilt. Maybe this is my Jerusalem. But yeah, I've been here basically since 2005. So that's, 20 years I've been here. But I still don't really have community. So I have felt like maybe I need to leave here to carry out my purpose, which is to keep planting seeds and talking with people and meeting people, and also be mobile and nomadic so that it's a lot harder for the enemy to attack me. I might be answering my own question. This might be my Jerusalem. Running away from here might be my Egypt. I don't know. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd really like to know if you have a take on it. And again, if you stuck through it for this whole half an hour, God bless you. Anyway, God bless you regardless. So thanks for watching. Love to hear if anybody has anything to say.